Dan Campbell gets emotional again after a win, and why not?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's a New Year's Eve edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you on a December 31st Tuesday in a New Year's Day and January 1st, 2025, a Wednesday. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Lions and Vikings coming up on Sunday night. Winner gets the entire NFC, the first round bye, the NFC North. Loser has to be the 5 seed and maybe play 3 games on the road to get to the Super Bowl. What a stark contrast between 1 and 5. Yet, here are 2 14-win teams going at it Sunday night at Ford Field, Detroit and Minnesota. Should be a lot of fun. We got a lot in store for you this week. No show tomorrow because I'm going to be traveling. Thursday, we'll have a show. Of course, Luke Braun will join us from Locked On Vikings for the Thursday crossover. We'll have shows Friday. We'll have shows Saturday. And we'll have a show on Sunday night following Lions and Vikings. But thanks to all of you for checking us out. Wherever you get your podcasts, of course, subscribing on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We'll be back. I'll be back in town tomorrow. And then we'll have Luke Braun on Thursday for the crossover and everything else. Huge week. Never happened before. You can make an argument that this is the greatest regular season game in NFL history because 2 14-win teams playing each other has never happened before. You've got 2 14-win teams going for the 1 seed, and in the final week of the season, and the last time we had 2 teams playing for the 1 seed and the conference regular season title and a division title was 1993, but in January of 94, I mentioned this last night when Dallas had to go to the Meadowlands and beat the Giants to do that. So a lot on board for this week, and a lot, just in stake for this game this week. And it's exciting. And, we'll get into the PFF grades from last night, the top 5 and bottom 5 line performers from their win over the 49ers, 40-34. I want to talk about Kerby Joseph a little bit. And I also want to kind of recap the year because this is the last show of 2024. We've been on the air doing Locked On Lions. If you're new to the podcast, I've been doing this show since 2016, since the Jim Caldwell days. And man, look where we are today in terms of where the Lions are. And I'm proud of where the podcast is. And I appreciate all of you that subscribe, check us out. I was reading the YouTube comments today. I don't do a ton of comment reading on YouTube, but I was today. There were a lot of funny comments. No, I'm not in a sauna here in parts unknown down in the South on a little family vacation. But yes, it's a cabin, as you can see. But I will be back in town tomorrow night. And then, like I said, we'll get back to the shows Thursday. We got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We'll do a Saturday show, get you ready for Sunday in what is going to be a massive game. By the way, a quick shout out to Fred Warner of the 49ers, who, and some of you might have seen this, in his pregame chat with the linebackers and some of the defensive players in San Francisco, basically was like, Dan Campbell said he's coming out here to win. Let's send him back home with an L and F him. And it's like, okay, Fred. Fred Warner's a great player. But sometimes these pregame speeches get caught on camera. And kind of interesting, the Lions go out and beat the Niners last night. And, we talked a little bit about it on the postgame show last night. But again, I got to take my hat off to Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and this organization. Because last night's game didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Because everything's at stake this week. Vikings keep winning. They have 14 wins. The Lions have 14 wins. And it's going to come down to whether you slice it with a tie or a tiebreaker. No. This game for the Lions, obviously win or tie, they get the 1 seed. But the Lions are playing to win. And last night, they didn't have to. And I've been telling you, and I've been saying this for a while, that this game, along with the Dallas game in Dallas, were 2 games that Dan Campbell really wanted at the start of the season. Not that he doesn't want them all, not that he didn't want to set a franchise record with 8 road wins this year, something that's never been done before in Detroit Lions history, 8-0 on the road. Pretty damn impressive. But the games that he circled on the calendar, the games he told his team about, he wanted his guys to get some retribution, some revenge for what happened in Dallas last year at the end of the season, regular season, and what happened in San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. He wanted his guys to walk off of both of those fields, the scenes of the crimes, Jerry World down in Dallas, AT&T Stadium, and last night, Levi Stadium in San Francisco. He wanted them to walk off winners and to put away what had happened in 2023. And so last night in the locker room, the Lions, of course, put out their social media team does a great job, and they put out the video of Dan's speech, Dan's speech to the team. And he was emotional. He was near tears. He was welling up, crying about the fact that his guys played hard for 60 minutes, played to win, how proud he was of them for putting forth that kind of effort. When a lot of the chirping, including myself and everybody on the outside, is going, wait a minute, got to rest your starters, got to not get guys injured. What are you doing? And what Dan Campbell was proud about was the guys never took their foot off the gas. Nobody opted out. Nobody said, hey, look, don't get me injured in this game. Put me on the inactive list. I don't want to play. No, everybody was playing to win a game that really had no meaning in the grand scheme of things. But what it meant to the team and to the franchise was retribution from a year ago. Just keep winning, stack another win, and keep your identity. And the identity for this franchise, and I'm emotional thinking about it, because I've been in Detroit since 1996. I've become an adopted Lions fan, all right? What is so cool and neat about this situation is all these other NFL teams, and it's hard to win in this league. Ask the Jets, who have not made the playoffs in 15 years. Ask the Browns, who never have ever sniffed a Super Bowl. Well, they sniffed one a few times in the 80s, but you know what I mean. It's hard to win. And these teams are modeling themselves after Detroit. The Lions are the model franchise. And I know the Lions haven't won anything yet. Lions haven't been in the Super Bowl yet. Right? But these teams are modeling themselves after the Lions because they have a winning culture. They have a general manager and a coach that are locked in together. They've got ownership that is supportive. They've got a pro personnel department that is creative. They find guys off the street that want to be here and play well. And the players are all bought in. There's not a single guy. Today, the Lions released Maurice Norris. Poor kid was on the practice squad all year. Finally got his chance last night. Lined up offsides on a kickoff. And he got released today. They'll probably re-sign him to the practice squad. But they're freeing up a roster spot and probably bringing Alex Anzalone off injured list or somebody like that. They need to free up a roster spot. But Mo Norris will probably come back on the practice squad, but he's the type of guy that is a part of this fabric. These guys on the practice squad, these guys on the that are at the end of the bench, whomever they are, and the Jared Goffs of the world that all are on board with what Dan Campbell preaches, and they all wanted to win last night because their coach has been talking about it for months. And kind of a bummer that the Vikings beat the Packers, so the game was kind of meaningless. But yet it didn't change the identity. It didn't change the mentality. They went out and they won. And they put up 40 points again. And survived a rough defensive night to win the game. And that got Dan Campbell welled up in the locker room. He loves his team. I mean, we used to talk about the going to work Pistons, who I covered and was a part of in 2004, doing all the pre and post game on the radio. Pretty close-knit group, but there were guys chirping. There were guys that didn't like Larry Brown. There were guys that didn't like Rick Carlisle before that. Sparky Anderson and the 84 Tigers. Sure. I mean, everybody seemed to love Sparky. I wasn't there in 84, so I can't tell you, but find me another team that is this close-knit. It reminds me a little bit of Michigan football under Harbaugh the last couple of years and how close that they were. But they had distractions and they had other things going on and they had you know what I mean? I'm just making a point that this team is so together that picking against them, and there will be people that will pick Minnesota this week, and there will be people that say this defense cannot hang with Justin Jefferson and Sam Darnold and what's going to happen and everything else. But they always seem to find a way. And they're on the verge of a franchise record. They've already broken the record, but 15th win. They could finish the season 15-2. That would just be unbelievable. And to see the coach get emotional in the locker room last night after that win and tell the guys he loved them and tell them how proud he was of them to not let up and not to give in despite the game not really mattering, win or lose. And it was great to see. And yes, the big game is this Sunday, as Dan Campbell said last night to his team. This is the big boy game. But the Lions aren't shying away from it. The Lions aren't going to say, well, gosh, we could finish 14-3 and have to be on the 5 seed. This is unfair. Blah, they should reseed. Blah. No. Division winners get rewarded. It's always been this way. I remember the Ryan Lindley led 7-win and 9-loss Cardinals that won the division one year and got to host a playoff game. It is what it is. Just go out and win, Lions. Just go out and win Sunday night. And they need a break. That would be nice. All right, PFF grades, Kerby Joseph, year in review, all of that coming up next. And we told you last night as well about our friends at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That's definitely happened to you, right? You've probably had a few subscriptions that you didn't even realize you were still paying for. And Rocket Money can make it so easy to track them all down so it doesn't happen again. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. All right. It is very, very simple. You may have had a Blue Mountain subscription for e-cards you forgot about. You're paying monthly or whatever it is. Any of the other ones that maybe come up in your head, check out what Rocket Money can do for you to help you get rid of those subscriptions you're not going to use anymore. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. So many great Lions fans out there that enjoyed last night's win, of course, 40-34 over the San Francisco 49ers. I was thinking about this. Tell a Lions fan that has been through the ringer with this football team for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, whatever it is. Tell them games don't matter, right? I'm down here in the South. I've been on vacation for a week, and the amount of people that I've seen in Lions gear and the people that I saw yesterday, especially because it was a game day, and it doesn't break their spirit that, well, we just worry about week 18 with Minnesota. So many fans, you guys on the comments, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Blue Sky or my Facebook page, you guys are so into it. And you're living and dying with every game. I got a message today from Nancy Taylor, who I've talked about before, loves the Lions. My guy Turner Batdorf, he and his dad Jody and Mama Batdorf, that family just they live for this team. You know, my boy Drew Nickel, Caribou Drew, messaging me all day about the Lions, right? You love it. You love the passion that's there, even for a game like last night that in reality, yes, did not matter in the grand scheme of things. It matters to you and it matters to the team. And I love that about this organization. Love it. All right. As far as Kerby Joseph goes, our buddy Sam Monson, who used to be at PFF and now is at the 33rd team, he was talking about this today, and it was a very good thought. Why aren't we talking about Kerby Joseph, Lions safety, for Defensive Player of the Year? Who is it right now? Who's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL? I don't know. Last year it's like, oh my God, TJ Watt or Myles Garrett or, these guys that have 20 sacks or 18 sacks or anything else. Trey Hendrickson leads the NFL along with Myles Garrett with 14 sacks. Trey Hendrickson is having a good season for Cincinnati. But are we sitting here week after week talking about how great Trey Hendrickson is like we have in the past with guys like Max Crosby? Okay. Is there a player that has 15 interceptions in a season? Is there a Ronnie Lott that's out there that is a dominating safety? What's interesting about Defensive Player of the Year is Kerby Joseph has a real chance to win it. And how incredible would that be? A mid-round pick by Brad Holmes from a few years ago out of Illinois, who has now elevated himself to the leader in the NFL in interceptions with 9. He hasn't given up a touchdown all year at that free safety spot. 2 more picks last night helped seal the deal for the Lions. It really turned the game around. And tell me who's having a better season defensively. You could make a case for Patrick Surtain, who has been a lockdown cornerback for Denver and is having another monster year and is rated very highly by our friends at PFF. We'll get you the PFF grades from last night's game in a second. Kyle Hamilton is somebody that is really, really good and everybody believes is the best safety in the AFC and plays for the Baltimore Ravens. All right. Budda Baker is having a huge year for Arizona, and I believe he's second in the NFL. He's second in the NFL in tackles for the Cardinals with 155. Really, really good season for them. Can't believe I'm about to bring this name up, but yes, KVN, former Lion legend Kyle Van Noy has 11 sacks, but he's not the Defensive Player of the Year. Kerby Joseph has a legitimate chance to win it. There's nobody else right now that has dominated and is worthy. There's really good players. We mentioned Fred Warner from last night. The guy's playing with a broken leg, basically. And he's one of the top linebackers in the NFL. All right, there's some really, really good defensive players in this league. I talked about Crosby and Myles Garrett and Hendrickson, TJ Watt. But it can't just be about sacks and pressures and everything else. Aiden Hutchinson of the Lions, Aiden was on his way. He was on his way to winning Defensive Player of the Year. And there was talk of that in week 4 and week 3 and everything else. And then he gets hurt in the Dallas game, which was such a bummer. Well, his teammate, Kerby Joseph, based on the numbers, based on the performance, leading the league in interceptions, has a legitimate chance at it. And how cool would that be for him? Lions have so many guys they need to pay. He's going to be another one. He and Brian Branch back there are damn good. And I'll tell you, I thought Iffy Malafano had a pretty good game last night too. So Lions are the issue is not on the way back of the Lions defense. The issue is up front. As far as that, last night's win over the Niners, 40-34, highlighted a few things, including the fact that the Lions must get more pressure on the quarterback and must play better defensively. Here are the top 5 Lion performers from last night's game on defense first against the Niners. Number 1 was Amik Robertson, who's had a really good year, an 82.1 grade. You got to have at least double-digit snaps for me to put you on this list. Number 2 was a bit of a surprise. Pat O'Connor got a 78 grade. Okay. Kerby Joseph was 3rd at 76.6. 4th was Zadarius Smith. I didn't see it, but okay. 64.2. I know he had one quarterback hit and no tackles. And Ifeatu Melifonwu, a 64 grade. Those were the top 5 Lions on defense, according to Pro Football Focus. Bottom 5, Al-Qadin Muhammad, 37.7. Ben Neiman, the linebacker, 39 grade. Seems like the play action, the misdirection were just killing the Lions linebackers all night long. Jalen Reeves-Maben, 3rd worst, 42.6. Trevor Nowaski, 45.4 grade. And DJ Reader, a 51.2 A little bit of a theme there. Linebackers and defensive linemen in the bottom 5. As far as top 5 Lions from Pro Football Focus, no surprise, number 1, Jared Goff. Another 300-yard game, another passer rating game of over 130. 87.7 grade for Jared Goff. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs, graded out well, 87.2. Third was Sam Laporta, 79.8 grade. Big game for the Lions tight end last night. Graham Glasgow at left guard. Played all 71 snaps, 78.8 grade. And right behind him, Amon-Ra St. Brown with a grade of 78.5. Goff, Gibbs, Laporta, Glasgow, St. Brown. As far as the bottom 5 performers on the Lions offense last night, Dan Skipper, 52.3, which is not bad for being the lowest. Brock Wright, 55.1. Kevin Zeitler, 56.4. Tim Patrick, a 60.6. Again, not a bad score. And Taylor Decker, 65.8. Lions had a lot of high performers and didn't play a lot of guys for a lot of snaps. Like Jamar Jefferson at a low grade of 48, but he only played 7 snaps. So those are your top 5 and bottom 5 Lion performers from last night's win over the San Francisco 49ers. All right, this is our last show of 2024 in terms of calendar year. This is the 2024 season that will continue, of course, Sunday night when the Lions on NBC and Sunday Night Football take on the Minnesota Vikings and a pair of 14-win teams that are going to go at it at Ford Field. By the way, if you want tickets to the game, check out the Gametime app, of course. We love the Gametime app. I can't even begin to think about what the ticket prices are going to be like come Sunday night, but there's going to be a lot of people that cannot wait to get into that stadium for that 8:20 game. It's going to be absolutely rocking and going to be so much fun. And, you know, this last year's playoff games were as big a games you've ever had at Ford Field. This is probably the biggest regular season game the Lions have played in that stadium, right? With all that's at stake, it's pretty great. But we're taking tomorrow off. I told you we'll be back Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I just want to put something in perspective here as we wrap up the year. 2024 has been an incredible year for this franchise. And it's an honor for me to be able to do this show every day, try to bring you the best content we can with good guests. We're lining some stuff up for later on this week, I promise. And just insight onto the team. And I know that sometimes on this program, I get opinionated and say some things you don't like. All right. I know I'm known around town, I guess, by others as some Jameson Williams hater, which is completely false. But okay, if I criticize one of our guys and I say some things, people are going to get ticked off. And that's okay. It's because they're very passionate for the team. But I hope as we go into 2025 and we close the door and we put the book on this year and we do our little New Year's Eve celebrations tonight, and hopefully everybody is safe and has a good time tonight and wakes up tomorrow morning and is ready for another big year. But don't forget about whatever happens in the remainder of the year, whatever happens on Sunday, whatever happens in the playoffs. Don't forget about this wild ride and this run that was 2024 for this football team, namely because this team played 3 playoff games in this calendar year, 2024, won 2 of them, should have probably won the 3rd one, and made history for the franchise, winning 2 playoff games for the first time since 1957. Don't forget about this unbelievable ride this team has been on during this regular season. Some of the comeback wins, the blowout in Dallas, the win last night, sweeping Green Bay, everything, all of it. The crowds. Don't take this for granted. Don't forget about it, regardless of what happens this year. And I know what's going to happen. All right. Let's say the Lions don't get to the Super Bowl. Let's say the Lions end up with the 5 seed and lose on the road. Whatever it is, this has been incredible. This has been awesome. This team is going to be good for a long time, but the build up, and what's going on over the last couple of years. But you could make an argument just from a calendar year perspective. 2024 has been just insane. Seeing 2 playoff wins, seeing the team play in the NFC Championship game, getting both games at Ford Field, and I was in the stands for the Rams game. Just amazing. And so don't take it for granted, regardless of how this season goes, because it has just been special. And it starts at the very top. Sheila Ford Hamp has done such an amazing job as owner of this franchise and putting the right people in place to the point where we're hearing that teams were interested in Ray Agnew to be GM. We're when Washington pilfered away 2 of Brad Holmes's lieutenants in the pro personnel department. The coaching staff might just get raided this offseason with Ben Johnson leaving or Aaron Glenn, and the assistants going other places, becoming offensive coordinators, whatever it is. It's a special franchise. And when, like I said, I've been doing this podcast since 2016. When have we ever said that? 8-0 on the road this year. A franchise record. Go back to Dan Campbell's first year when the team couldn't win a road game. And it was second year when they finally won on the road. And we saw the steps that they take. And I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to help just be a small part of it for you, the fans, to give you some content daily and do what we do here. So Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for your support. Thanks for following, liking all over the social medias and on our YouTube page. Appreciate our everydayers that are out there. I appreciate all of you that check me out, hit me up on LinkedIn or wherever, and just say that you support. I can't thank you enough. Without the fans, there would be no Locked On Podcast Network, and there would be no Locked On Lions. So enjoy your New Year's. Back again Thursday with a crossover with Luke Braun. We'll talk about the Vikings some more. Got a couple of other guests lined up for later on in the week, right here on Locked On Lions. Happy New Year, everybody. Have a great one.